right? Because that's what companies want. They don't want someone who knows it all. They
Yeah.
want someone who is willing to grow, and they want to understand your thought process. They want to see, are you a thought leader? Are you someone who takes ownership? Do I have to baby you? How much learning curve do we really have with this individual? Those are real conversations in like
Yeah.
HR debriefs that we have.
Hey, I'm Tine, your pivot and pay strategist. I help Black women double their income by leveraging their existing skills. I am all about getting Black women paid, whether you're an employee or a business owner. And you're listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. I'm your host, Tine, international speaker, award-winning author, founder and CEO of Getting Black Women Paid, and your audacity coach. In today's episode, we have a guest interview and we talk all about audacity, especially when it comes to career moves. We're going to be talking about how to navigate in your career without getting another degree. We're going to talk about speaking to your skills and the values you bring. We're going to be talking about how to navigate that feeling of invisibility, how to lead without losing yourself, even when you're the only in the room. I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. So I am going to introduce our guest and then we'll get right into it. Annie Pelissier, or Coach Annie, is a powerhouse HR executive, career strategist, and the founder of Elevate Consulting's LLC. With over 20 years of experience, she has coached thousands of professionals and built HR teams across private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Annie is the creator of the Elevate Me Blueprint, a transformative program that helps mid-career women break past career ceilings, build confidence, and secure roles they love with the compensation they deserve. She is also the author of Taking Your Dreams Off Life Support and Kept in the Dark, Finding Faith When You Can't Feel God, a 60-day devotional that offers spiritual encouragement for women navigating difficult seasons. Annie is deeply committed to helping Black women get paid, get promoted, and get positioned for purpose. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. Well, welcome, Coach Annie, to the podcast. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you, T, for having me. Excited to be here with you today.
Absolutely. Now, I always want to start with our guests by asking about your origin story. I'm curious how you came to be doing the work that you do now.
Well, I'm going to say this. It started at a very young age, at the age of 14.
Oh, wow.
I am someone who I have never been paid minimum wage. I don't know what that is. At
Mhm.
the age of 14, I believe minimum wage was like six something, and I was making $15 an hour.
Girl.
Um, so and it was a part-time role. It was a customer service role, but I went after big money at such a young age that um, I think since I was younger, I've always known like, hey, if there's an exception, it's for me. So I start off by saying that is since I was 14, I've always believed that I am a purpose pusher. I am in the exception. So if there's something, it's for me. I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to go for it. And I never believed, even at such a young age, that there was limits as far as where I could go and
Mm.
do. So how it all started was just at that age when I noticed that, hey, you could walk into the room even at 14 and know very minimum and own it and get a role that, you know, most of the people you were working with were 18, 19, 20, and 21, a lot older, and you were the youngest
Yeah,
one, but still had a voice. So it started back then. I didn't know how to identify that at that age.
sure.
I didn't understand it either at that age, but I knew there was something in me that wouldn't settle. So if you ask me, like, what's your origin? Since I was 14, I've always known that I wouldn't settle.
Mm. Oh, I love that. Girl, you and I are kindred spirits. I was thinking back and I realized the first time I negotiated my salary was when I was 18. And like, yeah, there's just some kind of audacity that we
You know,
had as
that
young
is the
ones.
word. It's the I walk even now. I have audacity to think
Mm,
that I can do all these things and do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so, can you walk us through maybe like what your career looked like? Just sort of what was your path to going from that, maybe not all the way back from 14, but
Yeah.
but like your career starting to becoming Coach Annie.
Yeah. So originally I went to school and graduated with for criminal justice and psychology. And it didn't work out that way
Mhm.
because when I got out, there wasn't much in the field at that time. So I got into an HR role, and I did it because it was entry level. It was just something to do. I did not think I was going to stay in HR.
Yeah.
2 years later, I'm still in HR. And what made me stay to it is I love being able to help people. One of the things that I've enjoyed throughout my career is being able to meet people where they are and help them get lifted. Even as an HR admin, I saw you at your first day. I saw you during the interview process. I saw you on, your growth when you got promoted. So because of that, those are the things that drove me. So I started
Mhm.
as an HR admin, and I've just decided, like maybe 2 years in, that I was going to
Yeah.
develop the skill. And I got my certifications, and I have been excelling in it since. And I was never qualified for any of the roles, but I got them.
See, I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
You weren't qualified on paper,
Yeah.
but you could do the thing,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I think so many of us, well, first of all, Black women in general, we have all the degrees. And every time we think we want to pivot, we think we need to go get another degree,
Yeah.
or all the certifications and all the things. So, I know you talk about not needing a degree
Mhm.
to succeed, to push further. My degree is in education, and that had nothing to do with computer science, and I
Right.
became a software engineer anyway. And so I love that you had that criminal justice background, and then you were
Mhm.
like, "No, let me excel in this other thing." So can you talk more about, what it means to know that you don't need a degree to advance, and like what kind of strategy do you need instead?
So, one of the things that I say and what worked for me is that I knew what skills were needed. So, I developed those skills on my own. I didn't wait for them to teach me how to do things. I developed them. And when I applied for a role, I did my research. I took time to understand the role. I looked for interviews that the companies were doing with other people just to get a feel for them before I would interview. And then if there were things that were I had never done, I knew how to speak to them. So if I'm giving you a strategy, it's like when you apply for a role, you're not going to know how to do everything. Full transparency, we're not going to hire you if you know everything because you're going to cap out and get bored. So they don't expect you to come in knowing everything. But what you want to be able to do, and the strategy that has helped me, is being able to speak to those things that I have not done and being very transparent. Like, hey, I have not had to cross that road, but if I did, here's the steps I would take. That's what they want to see.
Mm,
They want to understand where your thought process is when you're getting into a role, it's always a learning curve no matter what. And even now, I'm 20 years in. If I step into another HR, this no matter what, if it's HR, I'm still gonna have a learning curve, right? So
yeah.
it's planned. So it's really being able to speak to the things that you don't know how to do and doing your work and finding out what they value and what's important to that company.
Oh, I love that so much. I always talk with folks and say, when you're looking at the responsibilities on a job, if you can already do all of those things, then you should be applying for the next thing. You should be applying for the level above that, right? If you've already mastered all those things. So I try to think about, everything on that job listing as like, is this something I want to grow into? Is this the kind of work I want to learn how to do? But I love how you frame it in terms of speaking to that and saying, I haven't had this direct experience with this thing, but here's how I would go about learning it. Here are the resources I would use. I
Mhm.
love that. A way to like kind of put into words, you know, how you would grow into that role. That's
Right,
fantastic.
right. Because that's what companies want. They don't want someone who knows it all. They
Yeah.
want someone who is willing to grow, and They want to understand your thought process. They want to see, are you a thought leader? Are you someone who takes ownership? Do I have to baby you? How much learning curve do we really have with this individual? Those are real conversations in like
Yeah.
HR debriefs that we have.
Mm. And it's true for every industry, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
have worked in tech and it's like, a lot of times they'll list, certain softwares you need, oh, do you have experience with this software and this software?
Mhm,
Well, no, but when I got at my last job, I learned that software that they were using and I could learn this one,
mhm,
right? That it's never going to be, yes, I've memorized all the things. I've worked in every single aspect. But
mhm,
are you a person who can learn, can grow into things? Ah, I love the way that you approach that. And
mhm,
you talked a little bit about being a thought leader
mhm,
and just I'm thinking about kind of leadership in general. And I think for a lot of us, especially as Black women, we can find ourselves being, the only in the room. And, I'm wondering if you can talk with us about like how do you n- how do you advise folks on like navigating that and still becoming leaders without I guess without like losing your sense of self, right? Without completely, I guess, selling out or what's the word I'm looking for? Assimilating.
mhm. Well, a couple things. I I can share what works for me, and what has worked is I have never tried not to be myself. In interviews, in workplace, I show up as who I am because this is who you're gonna get, and it's either it works for me or it works for you.
Mm,
Um, One of the things that's helped me to stand out is I'm super confident in that room. Even if I go in the back and be like, oh, this was frustrating, I'm in tears, I'm frustrated, you will never see that in a room where I'm the only one. I'm going to be
mm,
proud. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to walk in and I'm also going to do the work. I think one of the hardest things is sometimes we want to be in places we're not ready for and we haven't done the work for. So if you're not someone who's going to put in the work and want to be able to add value to these conversations so that you can shine the way that you are, then of course you're going to feel intimidated. You're going to feel like, ooh. Now, that's not every situation. There have been rooms where I'm still confident. I'm strong in who I am, and I walk in and I know in from they're still going to be look at you like you are the only one. But you got to be strong enough to know that you're bigger than that. And so that's what's helped me. There's a mindset thing for me that when I walk in the room, I own it. When I walk in the room, I belong there. Oh, that's not your table. It is now. As soon as I walk in, it is now shifted to my table. So
mm,
that has been my mentality. And so if I say anything to anyone, is your mind is the first thing. The way that you see yourself is very key. Because if you don't see that you bring value when you walk into the room, if you don't speak those affirmations to yourself, then you are going to feel defeated in some of these rooms. I am not afraid, even in all. So I've been part of HR boards and I've been a director. I am a director and I'm part of executive teams that I am the only one, but I'm confident in
mhm,
who I am and how I show up. And so even if I have to challenge the CEO, it's not a disrespectful thing. It's done eloquently, but I stand my ground on what's right. So
mm,
that all starts with your mind. So I tell people, get your mind right. I get it. Have your venting sessions with your girlfriends, with your family, air that out. But when you walk in, you have to build yourself up so much that they have no choice but to respect you.
mm. I love that you start with the mindset work, but that it's really the practice, right? You have to exercise that muscle to
Mhm.
really feel that confidence each and every time. And one thing I want to highlight that you said sort of towards the beginning was that you show up as your full self
Mhm.
from the beginning, right in the interviews. I hear so many people, tell stories about, "Oh, I got the advice not to wear my hair like this for the interview because it's not considered professional," or whatever, and it's like, if that's how you're gonna wear your hair, then you need to know on day 1 or even before day 1 that they're gonna accept you
Yeah,
and value you, and
absolutely.
so it sounds like there's kind of 2 pieces to it, right? There's 1 is being yourself, and then 2, when you are being yourself and you're confident in yourself, then you also get to know who's not gonna take you seriously, and
Right,
you can kind of
right.
and
And
move forward accordingly.
here's what I would say to that too. I think um, not every room is for you. That's also a reality. Sometimes I can walk in a room, and if it does not feel like somewhere I can grow, I'm gonna walk away. I don't care how much money that is. And so I think one of the things is we think, oh, it's such a high level role. I have to fit in. You don't have to. Just because it's high level, just because it's a lot of money, the culturally it may not be a place for you, and you may not be able to grow there. So it
Mhm.
wouldn't make sense to be in that room, right? So I think part of that is understanding that when you go in for an interview, back in the interview, before we even get to the boardroom, back in the interview stages, it's not about what you can bring to them, it's also what they can bring to you. You got to ask questions about their culture. You got to find out what is
Mhm.
important for them. You got to find out what success looks like for them. You got to ask about internal promotions, how they grow their team, how they develop their team. So there are things that represent your value. Those are things for me that are important for me, right? So
Yeah.
whatever those things are that you value, you need to ask. The interview is a two-way interview, and they may like you, but you may not like them. That's happened to
Absolutely.
me a lot, where I walked in and I've had three offers, and I'm like, nah, this didn't work for me. I wasn't comfortable with the response. I can
Right.
sense a little thing, you know. And I say that like, trust your gut. You know, trust your gut. More money does and more power doesn't necessarily mean healthy. And that's one
Mm.
of the things that I had to also learn is that it's okay to walk away. And more money, more power does not mean healthy. And I need to be in a healthy working environment for me to thrive.
Right. Oh, absolutely. You are absolutely interviewing them as much as they are
Mhm.
interviewing you.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that also comes back to that mindset piece because when you know the value you bring, it also helps you know what you deserve,
Mhm.
right? You know, you deserve to be treated a certain way. You deserve to be in a culture that is not going to be stressing you out and making you feel uncomfortable every day. I remember one of the best fit, like cultural fit roles I had as a software engineer. During that interview process, I actually asked to speak with a black engineer and a woman engineer. And first of all, most of the companies I've worked for would not have been able to supply those things.
Mhm.
But I was able to, outside of the formal interview process, these were people who didn't have a stake in the hiring conversation. I was able to get real with them and say, like, what's it actually like here?
Mhm.
So I love that you talk about asking those questions and making sure that it's a fit for you
Mhm.
before you even walk in the door.
Yeah. And I love that you did that. Kudos to you. That is like
Thank
key thing
you.
because I think that more people should ask.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah, I hadn't thought about that in a while. We might have to do a whole episode about that.
I know,
Right?
right?
What to be asking
What to ask. Mhm.
when you're interviewing to make sure that you're not getting into another situation that's gonna beat you down.
Yeah.
And one of the things I know you've spoken about, and I think this can come from being an only, but it can come from a lot of places. It's just that feeling of being invisible. I actually once worked in a company where my walk from the door to my desk was like it was almost a city block long, and every day nobody would greet me. Like I would walk by people and no one would make eye contact, and there was one day where someone smiled and waved, and I was about to wave back and I realized they were waving to the white woman behind me. And I was just like, "Oh, I have never felt so invisible."
Mhm.
Like, literally. So, I wanna know, how you have experienced that and what you talk with your clients about who are experiencing that.
So I had a certain person that I reported to that I work with, and the person before me in this role was a black woman as well, and he continued to call me her name for
Oh,
for almost 6 months.
6
Almost.
months?
And my counterparts would be like, "That's not her name. Say her name." We kept saying it,
Mhm,
and for a long time, I would go home and I would be so aggravated because the first two times I let it slide, I was like, okay, I'm new. You're used to that person. I get it.
mhm.
But when we're like 3 months down the line and 6 months down the line and we're having these conversations, there's no way that you don't know my name. You're seeing my
Right.
name in emails. You're seeing my name in things. So I felt invisible at that moment. I felt like indirectly he was saying we all are the same
Mm.
because he didn't know my name.
Yep.
And it got to a point where I actually said something. I said, so I said, it's been now a couple months that I've been working with you. And I'd appreciate that you call me my name. I said, because I'm an individual. And I said, and I get it. We're Black women. We're strong. We're gorgeous. And I said it just like this. We're
Yeah.
good, smart Black women. And that you could see similar traits. I said, but I am an individual and my name is Annie. And I said, and this will be the last time I hear you call me that. And he was my direct manager.
Mm.
And I was ready, and I will say this, I was ready to walk out
Yeah.
because I knew that it wasn't a performance thing. I knew there was some ignorance in his as well. And I said, you need to take the time to understand who works for you, and who understand and understand that there's respect that is given both ways. I let it slide for a little bit because I get it. You're new. I was still learning people's name. I was like, who's your name? I knew your name though. But I was like, and if I didn't know your name, I'd say, hi, how are you? Without having to say. If you
Right.
can't,
You don't just make up a name for
you
them.
don't make up a name or call me someone that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a time then. But I I just was called it out
Yeah.
directly, very polite, very professional, not kind. And what I mean, not nice, but kind. And what I mean by that is when you're nice, you sugarcoat, you kind of let things flow. When you're kind, you're thoughtful, but you still speak what you need to say. And
Mm.
so I was kind in my approach. I wasn't nice about it, but I was kind about it, so that it would not happen again. And it has not happened ever
Mm. Oh, good for you. Good for
since.
you for having that conversation, and I love that you bring up the distinction between nice and kind, right? Because 'Cause we're
Mhm.
often conditioned to try to have everyone, worry about everyone's feelings and, "Oh, well, maybe it's this," but, unless it's a problem, and we always wanna sugarcoat things, but no, being kind is really being direct and saying, "This is what I need from you."
Yeah,
Ugh,
absolutely.
and And I know, folks are listening and like, "Yeah, she had that audacity since she was 14, like, what how am I supposed to do that?" So I'm wondering for, for folks who are listening to this and saying, "I can't see myself doing that."
Mhm.
You know, what advice do you have for someone to start advocating for themselves? Like, how do you dip your toes into, starting to speak up for yourself, really building that mindset, etcetera?
Practice at home. Practice with your circle of friends. Practice with your church members. Practice with your community. Practice. And everyone should have a safe space, a safe person where they can say, hey, I'm going through this. I want to talk this out. Can we mock? Can we practice? Can we talk about that? And get some feedback from people you trust.
Mm,
Um, and I will say this, there might be people you don't have close. If you have a therapist, find a mentor, find a coach. There's so much free resources to connect with folks.
yeah.
I would definitely do that. Find someone who's not in your industry, but who's in a leadership role, and you could still practice. So that's a key thing because they're also a leader, so they'll understand where you're coming from and be like, "Hey,
Mm.
that kind of came off a little disrespectful. Like, switch the
Yeah,
tone. You know what
right.
I mean? Switch the tone." So do that, and I'll say this: even though I've felt like I've always had audacity since I was 14, doesn't mean that I don't have moments where I don't feel unheard. It doesn't mean that I don't have moments where I feel invisible. I still, to this day, go through that. I
Mhm.
still walk into spaces where I'm like, oh, you don't see me. Okay. You know, I
Yeah.
still walk into those places. And that still happens now. So, yes, I've had audacity. Yes, I've built a muscle because that's what I called it. I've built that muscle of
Mhm.
walking who I am. But there are moments. And even in the moments, I just go back to my safe space, and really kind of try to ground myself. And sometimes it's happening in real time where I need to walk out this room right now
Right.
because I'm going to have a different they're gonna look at me a different way. And I still need to be professional. So but knowing that I'm very self-aware and knowing when I'm triggered, knowing when
Mhm.
things are not what I thought it was and I walk into that to remove myself quickly
Yeah.
and to be able to kind of regroup and then know how to address it. And I'm comfortable walking away, team, from saying, let's table that discussion and come back. I am very good at saying that, and I would say that to anyone. You don't owe anybody an immediate response for anything.
Mm.
So be okay with tabling a discussion to get your feelings right so you don't answer in a way that seems like, all right, maybe I'm scared, or maybe I don't have the audacity to speak up for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to word it and how to have that conversation with you. Table it. Say, something about that I'm not quite sure. Let's table that. I'll come back to you.
Mm.
Table
There
it.
there was so much gold in there, and I wanna make sure I highlight some of it for folks so you didn't miss any of it.
Sure.
Um, First, I mean, obviously, I love that you talk about practicing, right? This is a muscle. You it gets stronger from exercising it. But I
Mhm,
loved your idea of finding a leader, maybe even in a different industry, so
mhm,
there's not the high stakes maybe of, I need to impress this person or what have you, but they can give you that feedback from a perspective that's gonna be really valuable to you. I haven't heard that suggestion, so I wanted to make sure we highlight that. That's fantastic. Um, but then also the idea that you don't have to, in the moment, know exactly how to say what you wanna say,
mhm,
and that you can remove yourself from that moment. It doesn't even mean you have to walk out of the room, right? It can be,
mhm.
"Hey, can we come back to that part later and continue this discussion on, XYZ meeting topic?"
Yeah,
But you still get to say, "I wanna come back to this after I've had some time to
mhm,
think about exactly what I wanna say."
yeah,
And you never have to, in that moment, have the response. The response can be, "Let's talk about this later." I love that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I feel like that I mean, just in this conversation, I feel like I already have lots of ideas about how I want to approach things differently, so I've been really
Yeah.
excited about, everything you shared,
Mm,
and I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about, how you work with folks,
mhm.
in terms of building that confidence, getting those promotions and getting paid.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to share this because I think it's important to understand, right? What has kept me in HR is because I love people. I love to see people grow. I love to see like you develop. I love to see you promote and even leave. And yeah, I want to see you leave and grow and go to a different company and
Yeah.
do all the things you learned here, take it up somewhere else. So for me, I share that because when you understand my heart, then you understand my method and how I coach people. I'm in HR. I've done interviews. I've been doing this informally for 20 plus years, right? I recently launched my business, Elevate Consulting, and part of my business, because this is only a fraction of it, is career coaching, where
Mhm.
I really speak with people and take time for them to understand who they are, what they're passionate about, and then how to transfer those into skills that actually work. Part of One of the things I've realized is that there are a lot of people in roles that they don't like.
Mhm.
They condition themselves to like it, and because they complete tasks, they checklist, so they feel like they're good at it, but they don't
Yeah.
like it. It's just they're good at accomplishing tasks. Okay, that's just a skill set. That's not the role. So I
Yeah.
really spend time to get to know folks, really understand some of the practices we go through in our program. Really helps you to hone in on what those skills are.
Mhm.
And sometimes we have a real heart to heart conversation, like, okay, so you're not in the role that you want to be in, based off of what we said. So we need to create a plan for that because
Yeah.
you're always going to be frustrated. You're not going to grow. You're not going to develop. So I help people understand that. And then what I do is once you understand your skills and what value you bring and where you can grow, I put that into a resume. So let's speak to those. I've seen thousands of resumes and they don't speak to what they do. And I'm like, that your resume does not tell me that you do that. So I
Right.
really work with people to help them understand how to sell themselves on paper first, because that's what gets you the interview. They don't get to talk to us. If they did, 90% of us would probably be a lot further ahead
Yeah.
if we're able to see that. But sometimes, especially now, it is hard for us to be able to go through applications and really stand out. So I teach people one, how to sell their skills, what keywords to use.
Mm.
These ATS systems attract certain keywords for certain roles, so you got to know what language to put and how to put it in your resume. So I
Yes.
really walk into details, and my mastermind is very intense in that because I want you to get the best out of it. I want you to walk away and say, Annie, I know how to speak for myself. I understand how to sell my value into the things I don't. So we spend
Mhm.
time doing those things and practicing, going through those exercises. Then once you get it, we craft a resume. That's on the STAR method. So situation, task, action, results. That really speaks to that. And line by line, I go through each role with you to make sure that you get that and that's done. You have examples, you have the templates. I teach you like, hey, when you're in an interview, this is things to listen to. Here's some things you want to listen. And so when you send your thank you letter, how to incorporate that pretty quick, how to
Mm,
be able to set those things up so that you set yourself apart. So I teach people how to set yourself apart, how to go above. And right now, I'm gonna be very honest. Anybody could take a resume and throw it into an AI generator and say, "Make me a good resume. Here's my things." So very secret, very honest. We can tell. We can tell.
yeah.
We can tell. Uh, I've gotten resumes recently, and I'm like, okay, that's AI generated. They, even though it's in the same method, you can tell that it's AI generated.
Yeah.
So I teach people like how to go above that. AI is a tool. Use it. I want you to use it, and I'm gonna tell you how to use it. So I teach you how to use it to build your resume, how to use it to speak to the things that you need, how to
Mhm.
help craft some of the things you want to, because it's a tool you want to, but
Yeah.
knowing how to ethically use it so that it builds you and doesn't take away. And so that when you go into an interview, it matches, then
Right.
it works. Because that's the
Mm.
thing, we know. I've had meetings with folks and we're like, yeah, so that was AI generated. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. I don't know what
Right,
that
and I didn't bother to read it and decide if it even applied to me in
is.
my life.
Right. And the thing is, it sounds good. Now, here's the thing, those resumes look amazing on paper. And
Mhm.
then you meet them and you're like, okay, so you know how to use the AI tool. That's wonderful. But show me how to do that and still speak to it, right? There's
Right.
nothing wrong with using it, but it's learning how to do it the right way and the proper way. So we go through some of that.
Mhm.
And then I just help build confidence. So, like, I'm in your mind. I help you shift your thinking. We do some mindful practices as well. Um, I make sure that you're surrounded by a community. So if you have no
Mhm.
one, that you have a community of folks, not just me, that you could reach out to. I am a resource queen. I have resources for everything. So I will connect you to as many resources that I'm able to, because I can't do everything. I can't teach you everything, but I can definitely connect you. I could be your plug. I can definitely help with that. So I really work with folks on that level, and that's my passion. Um, Most programs end and you don't hear from them. No, I give people access to me still. That if you were
Yeah.
part of my community and you did that, and there's one day you're having a big interview, you're like, oh my God, I need someone. Let's reach out. Let's schedule something really quick. I'm open for that. So I always leave that space for people who have worked with me
I
to
love
be able to
that.
have that access so that they always know that, yes, I may have finished or completed the program, but I know that, hey, I had a huge interview, Annie, and I need expertise with this. Okay.
Oh, I love
Let's
that.
30 minutes and have a conversation.
Yeah, they know you're still in their corner.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's fantastic. And so for folks who are listening to this and they're like, "Yes, please, how do I get this?"
Yeah.
How can folks learn more about your programs? How can people connect with you?
So I would say this. One, go to coachanniep.com. Simple as that. Coachanniep.com. You'll see high level of all the programs. There is a place there you could book a call with either myself or one of my team members, and we'll talk to you about the program. We'll see if it's a fit. So let me be honest, not everybody's a fit. And that's
Sure.
okay too. So we'll see if it's a fit for the both of us because I want people who are going to be engaged. And if you're not willing to be engaged, I'm not the one for you. And that's okay. You know,
Okay.
and I want to be very clear about that because I
Yeah.
want to win. I don't want anyone to spend any money, be part of something that they're not going to take seriously because it impacts their growth. And if I want to get my sisters paid, I got to make sure you go through this program and you do it the right way. So part of it is it's an engagement. I want to make sure that you're engaged. I want to make sure that you are wanting this. This is the right time for you. And I also want to make sure that it's not a burden for you to do this, but it's more of an asset. Because if it's a burden, like, oh, I have to go to school or I have to do this, then it loses its value.
Yeah.
It's really just go to coachanniep.com, schedule some time, we'll talk through the program, we'll ask some questions, we'll get to know one another, and then we'll make a decision.
I love that, and we'll have that link in the notes as well in case you're driving or you you missed it.
Right.
Oh, well, Coach Annie, thank you so much. I am glowing. For anyone who's not watching the video, you can't see this big smile on my face, but I've just enjoyed this conversation so much, and I appreciate the work that you do. You are doing what so many of us aspire to, and then you're also taking that. back and doing that, lift as you climb, and really sharing what you've learned with others. And I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Tina. I appreciate it, And I love what you're doing, getting Black women paid. Listen, that's bold, okay?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
it's setting me up right now. I said, because I want to be part of this and I want to be part of this conversation, because to do that boldly and to say
Mhm.
it boldly, that's usually they're like, oh, why can't it be white woman? Why can't it be Hispanic woman? Why can't? So the fact that you were so bold in your title, that for me was attractive. And that
Mhm.
made me want to be part of it, because I said, if she has the courage and the guts to call that and to speak what it is, and this is what her mission is, I have to be a part of that conversation. So thank
Oh,
you for being that bold, because it encouraged me to be bold and even more in who I am.
oh, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that, and that's what it is. We're over here with our audacity, saying
Yeah,
what we need to
walking in
say.
audacity. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you again for joining us, and thanks to all of you for listening. And we will see you in the next one.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to hit the notification bell so you can catch more episodes like this one. And join the conversation by leaving a comment below. Be sure to share this channel with the incredible Black women in your life so we can continue getting Black women paid. All right, we'll see you in the next one.